any wargame, anytime. Hey folks, and happy Halloween. Welcome to a very spooky episode of Any Wargame, Anytime. I'm Bozz. I'm joined today by Daniel and Sam. How you guys doing?
We are doing good today. We're doing great. Well, I'm doing great.
I'm doing good too.
All right, Sam.
I will use a non-spooky voice because
Well,
I'm
I'm in a different time zone. I've already gone out and done my trick or treating, so I might be a bit more into the spooky vibe.
the spooky vibe.
Yes. So we've got a good episode tonight. We've each made a spooky list for Grimdark Future, one-page rules, and a spooky list for Age of Fantasy, also of one-page rules. And we're gonna just go over them and talk about them and talk about what's in them and what makes them spooky and just all general good stuff. And I think why don't we have Dan go first today? How are you doing there, Dan? How's your spooky going?
Well, it's going good, and it got a lot spookier. We have some spooky news for Kings of War players. My comrades in Kings of War, we are all quaking in fear as the great evil one has come up again with more news. It seems that the old world is coming out early 2024 with rules. So had to drop a little spooky news for our Kings of War players, keeping us awake at night in nightmares. Sam, what do you think about that?
Something wicked this way comes. Right? We knew the reckoning was coming eventually, and as it draws ever closer, you can just feel the lifeblood of miniature wargaming and Kings of War just slowly being drained away.
It's surreal.
Until it's
it really is.
Nothing but a desiccated corpse where there was once a flourishing wargaming community.
Well, it has come to ask that wargaming community back into the fold with its shiny new miniatures.
Entice them back, if you will.
And like that abusive ex that people keep going back to, people will keep going back to it.
I'm going to go back,
There's just something about that first love,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, but on to our normal spooky news. So for me, I want to talk about, so when we did this, we were each coming up with something spookier. And for me, I don't know if anyone's been watching here, but they have the Warhammer Plus show Hammer and Bolter. Extremely great animated work. I'm not going to reveal anything, but I will say that recently inspired me for this show to do Soul Snatcher cults. Soul Snatcher cults to me are truly, it's a different sort of scary where you have the wolves and the zombies and all that. Like Soul Snatchers are sort of like the Thing, or they're like Body Snatchers, obviously, where there's just this paranoia involved that I think the Hammer and Bolter episode, that if you've watched it, you know exactly what I'm saying, will absolutely freak you out. So with that in mind, as sort of an homage to Hammer and Bolter, I will go over my Soul Snatcher cult army, which is also equally scary on the table. I'll start off with the Soul Snatcher Matriarch, a caster 3. By the way, their spells are also pretty ridiculous. Good hand-to-hand person. Everyone in this army, by the way, has Scout, and a lot of them have Strider. So I've got the Soul Snatcher Matriarch, but where I think it's kind of the spicy sauce comes in with this is I've got 2 cult leaders, both armed with a megaphone. Now, a megaphone, in addition to just their normal fastness, they also have the megaphone, which gives them an additional 4-inch to their charge. That means that I'm going to take these 2 cult leaders and I'm sticking them probably those I'm sticking them in those mutant brutes. I'm sticking them in those 2 units of 10-man Soul Snatchers, both that also have caster 1, so that these guys on turn 1 can charge 20 inches and basically just murder any person that has a gun. Is going to die in this army. So my 2 megaphones, I've got a brute champion with a sledgehammer who's also nasty. I'm running some mutant brutes, 2 10-man units of mutant brutes with some great weapons in there with regenerations, so a bit heavier hitters. And then I've just got 3 10-man units of soul snatchers. I mean, these guys all have the caster, so they're all casting their spells. They still have the broken spell that has +1 attack. It's stimulant. So I think this probably needs to get fixed. OPA, if you're listening, you didn't fix the level 1 Soul Snatcher spell that gives them +1 attack when they charge. So that's frightening. That it still has it also has the +1 defense. So yeah, I mean, it's a nasty army that each one of these Soul Snatchers can just cast that +1 attack on themselves, and that's that is 30 attacks with a 20-inch charge. So this is a brutal army that's just basically going to scout forward, charge you, and just murder you. So Sam,
so basically they're going to come up from the gutters and out from the alleys and just murder you.
Yeah, they're just going to have some
that's
screaming with megaphones.
That's
just screaming
terrifying.
with megaphones. Yeah, and he's on a bike too, so he's technically keeping pace with these Soul Snatchers with like on a bike, yelling at them. So,
well, I'm spooked.
You're spooked. I think any Dow players or Tau players I think that these Tau and Dow players especially, that's who I'm especially thinking about, them and their good shot. Yeah. Well, the next one I think is even more scarier. So tell me something, Bozz and Sam, what is more scarier than body snatchers? There's only one thing scarier, and that is chicken chariots. That's right. It's halflings. Halflings to me are the most scary. If I could think of any more scarier Age of Fantasy army, it is halflings. So we've got a champion with an aura of luck. We've got a leader that has the shaman spell, so he's caster 2. We've got 2 20-man units of townsfolk. Isn't that just absolutely frightening? Halfling townsfolk. And there's 40 of them. I mean, that is going to kill one person. But think about that. Like, what makes this army so scary is that think of that poor, unfortunate individual who is going to die from a halfling townsfolk in battle. It's like when they bring this person's body back to their family, they're going to like tell them that like a halfling townsfolk killed that person. I mean, like, that's just frightening. So we've got another 20-man unit of warriors. We've got a 10-man unit of veterans with great weapons. We've got some braves, a 10-man unit of braves with dual hand weapons. And then we've got a 10-man unit of drunks. Again, one other person is going to die from a halfling drunk who's just going to be stumbling around and kill some person. We've got 2 thieves with surprise attack. Those guys are pretty good. We've got some golems, some jetpack troops with grenades, but here is the real kicker of the army. It is 2 cockatrices, so big chickens, and then we've got 2 beast chariots that have the chicken chariot upgrade. Now, this is the most frightening thing in the world. And I have to ask, is it a whole bunch of chickens that's carrying the chariot, or is it like big chickens? It doesn't say that they're big chickens. So this is a chariot that must be carried by 50 chickens. And think if you die from that. Think if you die from being overrun by 50 something chickens. That is truly the most frightening thing I've ever seen. You've then got 2 harvesters with some whirling blades, but really it's the chicken chariots. The chicken chariots, I mean, this is going to break entire armies. No one wants to die from a chicken chariot. So So that's my Age of Fantasy army for halflings.
I
The most
have
frightening thing in the world.
I have not had a good look at the Halflings army list before. It sounds absolutely wild.
I just love a chicken chariot. That's the greatest thing ever.
Give me a unit of 10 drunks, please.
Yeah, he's like, you don't get to go to Valhalla when you die to the
No,
half
you do not. And what be your cause of death?
I got
Chicken
beat up by some little people. like you don't belong here. Off to hell with you.
I know. Think of that poor person's epitaph. I mean, like his son, it like lives the rest of his life in terror, like, being known that his father died from a townsfolk or a chicken chariot. Yeah. So that's my 2 spooky armies. So that's what I have.
Gosh, I honestly couldn't tell you which one terrifies me more.
I know.
All right. Well, why don't we hear yours next, Sam?
I don't know if I can top that.
I know we definitely should have put Dan last.
We should have. We'll edit this in post production
exactly.
to
We'll
make
fix
it that
in
way.
post.
Yeah, but so I wanted to for this kind of idea. I was trying to call back to some of my earliest kind of gaming experiences where I started really felt that kind of terror in games that I was playing. And so for OPR, for Grimdark, I did Infected Colonies, and I was actually thinking my inspiration for this was like OG StarCraft and the Zerg. And in the opening missions of the campaign in StarCraft, you still didn't really know what the Zerg were. And so you were going into this infected colony, and there would be like these infected colonists that would come out and explode on you. And it was this kind of mystery. And then you ended up basically raiding the science facility where they were like keeping the Zerg kind of pinned up and such. And to me, that was such a profound kind of like, when I first played this as a I don't know, 12-year-old or something, it was like, oh, this is like this interesting, really kind of, combining the kind of the evil of humans with kind of a more cosmic evil. And so I have in the list, it's I do not play Grimdark, so Grimdark, yeah. So I make no claims about this list being competitive. I built it purely thematically. To have a monstrous tyrant, which I kind of thought like this is going to be would be like my queen. And an infected leader. I've got 2 20-man units of infected, and they both have flamers because I was kind of like, okay, well, what kind of like StarCraft-ish things can I? Okay, well, they're like infected fire bats. That was kind of my idea. So I've got some infected gunners, some hunters, some boomers, and an abomination, which kind of imagine like an ultralisk or something. I thought that'd be fun. And yeah, that's my list. And I again, don't make any claims that it actually be any good, because I don't really play Grimdark yet. I'm hoping to get into it soon. I've thus far been kind of strictly on the fantasy side of things, but that will change. So the next year's spooky list will be a much harder list when it comes to that. But in Age of Fantasy, I think this is both the list I came up with is both a spooky theme and is actually pretty disgusting. So it is Duchies of Vinci, and it is an army that I'm calling the Clockwork City, and the idea is everything in this list is except for I guess 2 of the characters have the Automata special rule, and this is like this have in my mind this kind of clockwork city that's populated entirely by automatons carrying out the orders of like creators that have long since died and been forgotten. I've seen this kind of theme in games across the years. The one where it was most close to my childhood was in an old game called Legend of Dragoon. If anybody has ever heard of that, it was a fantastic RPG.
Yeah, I love that.
The PS1 era. And late in the game, without getting into any spoilers, you go to this kind of city in the sky that's basically run entirely by these automatons, and their creators have long since gone extinct, basically. But these automatons are just carrying out these orders, and to basically progress through the city, you have to like go through the bureaucracy and like get the automatons to like change things change the laws that they're passing. It's the law city, and like go through this bureaucracy. And it was really fascinating thing to me, the kind of and part of the terror of removing law from the human elements. It's and you see this is a common theme in kind of in sci-fi as well, of like that you could replace law with like an artificial intelligence that has kind of some kind of omniscient understanding of things, and it's like inevitably it ends up horrifically because you can't actually do it.
Yeah.
So I think
never ends well.
No, it never does, and it's one of this constant kind of themes that's relevant to our lives today, right? Because we're getting closer and closer to better AI technology, and that is scary for a lot of people, and it's worth thinking about the kind of the nature of some of these things and how they relate to humans. But anyway, going over the list, I've got 2 Vinci Scholars with Alchemist, which gives them Caster 2, and they also get Repair, which is very strong ability, lets them remove wounds off of things with Tough. The Vinci spells themselves are actually pretty good. I've got 2 10-man units of Automata drones with the twin blows.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Sorry.
This is the how many 6s can I roll in shooting army? Because everything has rending.
Everything shoots.
Everything shoots, and everything has rending. So it is.
You're supposed to pretend to scare me, dude.
I know, not actually scare you. So then I've got 2 units of Automata drones with the rending bows, and so they're 10-man units. So that's 20 shots with rending. Just lovely. I've got a unit of Automata guards, also with the arm bows, and then they have the self-repairing upgrade to give them regeneration. And then, of course, the big guys, the Automata Brutes, which are just by far the best thing in the Vinci list as far as I can see. They get they're 2 6-man units, and they have 18-inch range with 4 attacks apiece with rending on their heavy hand bows. And of course, I also give them self-repair to give them regeneration because why not? And yeah, they're disgustingly good. That's 24 shots on with quality 4 with rending, and they're just gross. And then I've got a support wagon, which is like the transport. It has a light mortar, and I kind of thought the Automata guards would be in the transport because they're more short range. And yep, that's the list, and that's the theme. I would definitely feel like a terror for bringing this to a game, because
yes, I recently played a brand new player, and like I'm just imagining this is a terror for who I could just imagine just walk like hey, I'm gonna play Age of Fantasy the first game, and you just bring them, just mow them down, and like this poor unfortunate newbie quits all wargaming ever, and then just
Goes
nightmares
Yeah.
the rest of his life.
goes home shaking.
yeah. And I just like,
What just happened?
I see the sixes in my dreams, you know.
As far as
But
the theme goes, though, it's actually a really good kind of spooky trope. The idea of automatons en masse. I've always found it like quite unsettling.
It is, and there's something that's deeply unsettling with, especially when you get really creepy automatons that kind of like they give them like the fake human face or whatever, or like a mask or something. There's always something deeply unsettling at looking at something that kind of looks human but isn't.
Yeah,
Or looking at
almost.
something that seems alive but is like there's nothing there. You know, it's an unsettling thing. It really is a
Yeah, I think that's what I find unsettling about clockwork automatons rather than robots. Is robots, you can program them, whatever, but a clockwork automaton, it's just been wound up and left to go, and
yeah, and
it's just gonna do its thing.
Yeah, and it's just repeating out this thing without any kind of connection to its past.
Yeah,
right?
no thanks.
It's a timeless. Yeah, it's good. Yeah.
Yeah, we had zero none of us cooperated, had any discussion before about our armies, but I was thinking about this exact theme for Dow Union.
Oh yeah.
Because I wanted to create a Dow army because their whole thing is logic above everything else. And it's so true. Like I love that Sam's hit the idea also, especially in our world. I'm not going to get political, but basically the idea that more and more our world, it pushes this exemplification of logic and sort of this Tao logic above everything else. And the problem is like I'm reminded of that saying, which is it's worse than a crime, it's a mistake. It's like when you do something and you're doing something wrong, that's one thing. But when you make a mistake, whenever you think you're doing something right, and it's like worse whenever you think what you did was the right thing and that was a mistake. And so much of a frightening thing in our world is that a lot of people, they don't think what they're doing is wrong. They think they're sort of doing it as the right thing and they're making mistakes. And it sort of brings me back to the clockwork of the Tao, where there's nothing more frightening than someone who is convinced about the logical and the best. Like, in other words, they know best about the best greater good. Like, it's actually a pretty frightening thing, It's why
like in Star Trek, the Vulcans were always kind of,
and
they were deeply flawed.
Their society pretty much destroyed themselves through their logic.
Yeah, exactly. It's like they rid them. They tried to exorcise themselves of any kind of emotion, and it ultimately led to doom. Right? I mean, and that's the there's really just great. It's a great theme to kind of to play into, especially as we're indulging in the spooky time of year, and
it's very deep. Like it's like Sam's hitting them all, but I'm doing the goofy stuff. Sam's doing the deep stuff, man. Yeah, I like it.
I think that leaves you, Bozz, though.
I think it might. So I'm gonna start off with my Grimdark future list. And I'm going to give a little bit of background into this as well. I'm playing through the Halo series for the first time in quite a long time. I know that video games are not war games, sue me. But Halo 1, where you first meet the Flood, like, I remember playing this through for the first time when it came out in 2001, I think. And I was like, oh, cool, I'm some sort of superhuman and I'm fighting aliens and, this is fun. This is a romp. And oh my God, what is that? And if you don't know, the Flood, they're basically, think you're kind of generic, kind of zombie intelligence type thing. They latch onto your face or whatever, they take you over, and they've got some sort of hive mind thing going on. And all they want from life is to be everything, even remotely sentient. They want to be them. They want to take over the absolute universe purely just because that's what they want. And playing the game, especially I've been playing it the last few days, last few nights, kind of leading up to Halloween, because I know that it's going to freak me out and spook me out, because the Flood always do without fail. And I thought, I'm going to try and make a Grimdark future list that's basically the Flood. So here's what I've got. I've got an infected leader, purely because I need to take a leader. And there's nothing too special about it. It's a hero, it's tough 3, it's undead, obviously. It's just got a leader carbine and a close combat weapon. But then I've got 80 zombies. And they have regen, they're undead, they're obviously slow, but that's fine. I could have gone into the Army Forge creator and made some fast zombies, but that wasn't the game today. So I've got 80 zombies. And then I've got 3 leech swarms to kind of represent the kind of, heads walking around looking for other heads to infect. And they're pretty good. They've got Strider, they're tough 3, they're also undead, they're swarm attacks. I've got 6 crazed ravens, because it's very spooky having crazy ravens flying around, a couple of rabid dogs. I've got 6 corrupted beasts, which are kind of, in my mind, the larger Flood that come running towards you and then kind of explode and shower you with the face huggers. And I've also got an abomination in there to kind of represent, the big bad overmindy type thing. And it's crazy. Quality 3, defense 2, tough 12. It's got a heavy claw with 8 attacks, AP 3, and it can also stomp, which is 4 attacks and AP 1. So that's a terrifying list.
Yes, all those AP4 armies that are coming in thinking they're going to bring all their grand and I'm going to kill all these prime brothers. Going to go against this army and are going to cry.
That's right. So
it's like you're going to spend the first half of the game killing 80 zombies.
Yeah,
and maybe not do it successfully.
Yeah. And I kind of think, well, it'd be interesting to go up against this list with, maybe 1,500. These are all 2,000 point lists, by the way. It'd be interesting to go up against this list with 1,500 points of HDF and then the last 500 points of Battle Brothers to kind of be, the Spartans. And I still think those 80 zombies and that abomination are just going to absolutely stomp you. And even if they don't stomp you, they're going to throw a scare into you.
Do these zombies, do they get the zombie upgrade for the Age of Fantasy where they can pop up? What's it called? The Shallow Graves? Age of Fantasy, their zombies can actually pop up out of 1 inch and just be like, hi, we're getting those zombies everywhere.
That's terrifying. No. These do not have that.
Oh, man.
That's horrifying.
It's a very good list.
There is something always deeply unsettling about hive minds too.
Yeah,
that's another just really interesting horror thing. That's you see even in the real world. It's kind of deeply disturbing. Even with the insects that have that. With the bees and ants and
bees and things. Yeah,
and you might think falsely that the hive mind exists to kind of protect the queen or other individual members of the hive, and it doesn't. And what's so unsettling about it is the hive will discard the queen as soon as the queen can no longer function, right?
Yeah, the hive
replace it. The hive protects the hive.
Itself. It's
exactly.
Yes,
it's an intelligence that's absent any individual will, which is one of what makes it so terrifying, because there is no there's no sense of self within the hive. It is just the hive.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's more scary. This reminds me, actually, I think about this, that like dogs, cats, so many of these animals, bugs, these things are frighteningly evil creatures in the sense that if they were bigger than us, they'd just eat us. Like cats, insects, bugs, like the only reason we are alive is because we are bigger than these
Yeah.
things.
We
Well,
keep
we got-
we
we
keep
got-
we
we
keep
got-
we keep apex predators as pets.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We
and
we,
the
we
only
got we got
reason-
really good. We got really good at the technology of sending of sharp things. You know,
Mm.
our sharp things technology got really good.
Yeah, and I think that what makes like movies that are about giant animals or something so frightening, because it gives us a peek into the actual brutality of our world, that it's only really our size, that like really the animal kingdom, they can't be bartered with, they don't care, they're just going to eat you and just not have any remorse at all about it. So I do, it is a scary thing when you start kind of looking at it, like, yeah, I agree.
Well, it's like, like the whole thing, the lion feels no remorse for killing the gazelle, right? I mean, like that is kind of the barbarity of, you might say, of the animal kingdom, right? Is that it is there's this order, but it's kind of it's an order of the survival and strength. It's not really,
You can't barter with it.
Morality doesn't come into it at all. The lion's hungry.
No, it
the lion hunts. The lion eats. That's the end of it.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, and it feels not, there's no,
It's not malicious. It's hungry.
Yes, exactly.
Well, I've got my fantasy list now, and for my fantasy list, I'm actually featuring Vampiric Undead, which is if you're a Patreon of One Page Rules, Vampiric Undead are the new model line that they're releasing for the next few months, and check out the models if you haven't already, because they look amazing. It was a Vampire Lord's army was the last army that really interested me when I was playing Warhammer Fantasy back in the day. I hadn't started it yet, but I had my list all worked out, and I was looking at buying them, and I just love the idea of them, and I'm really, really glad that OPR's decided to release their own models for it. So I start off with a Vampire Master, Furious Hero, Tough 3, Undead. I've given him a Winged Steed, which gives him fast and flying and impact. He's got a Blood Chalice, which means he and his model get regen, and he's got a Pet Wolf, so you can't ambush him either. So don't mess with the Vampire Master. Accompanying the Vampire Master are 2 units of 5 Vampire Knights. They're also on steeds and good. They're quality 3, defense 3. They've got heavy hand weapons. They have impact. So then we've got an Ancient Wraith, which is pretty cool. It's got ambush. It's got ethereal as well. So it's got stealth and strider. And you can ignore a wound on a 5+, which is terrifying. It's got a great weapon which has Reap, and Reap's pretty cool. Enemies that roll to block hits take 1 additional wound for each unmodified result of 1 that they roll. So if it was going up against me, for example, and my love of just rolling ones when I really need to roll anything but a 1, yeah, I'm definitely going to go down.
Yeah, I banned Dan from playing Reap things against me because I roll so crappily against him that it's like, okay, if you take Reap stuff, I'm gonna lose my entire army in one bad roll here. Yeah,
it's pretty filthy. So then I've got 5 units of 10 zombies, because zombies give me all the bodies, and they're zombies. They're quality 5, defense 6, and they've got claws, but there are 50 of them. So good luck with that. I've got 3 units of Skeleton Guard, 4 units of Ghouls. I've got 25 Zombie Wolves, 3 Ghost Swarms, 3 Ghoul Horrors, and 3 Bat Horrors. So I've really tried to go for a nice mix of kind of all the units. It's basically
those Bat Horrors are so good. As a Sam best. Those Bat Horrors are, especially when I play Sam, and Sam just generally rolls bad against me. But it helps Sam become a better general. He'll still tie me, and he'll still win, and he rolls bad.
Yeah, I did tie you in that game, and I feel very proud of that. For that, because my God, those Bat Horrors, man, just like wrecked me. I went into a unit and it's like, oh well, here's like 4 1s when I'm rolling. Like, oh well, that's just lovely.
Yeah. because
the unit's
they're
gone.
they are another unit that have Reap. So I basically just wanted to showcase a kind of general spread of what I would imagine a horde would look like if a vampire lord rose up and went, you know what, gonna invade some stuff. What do I need? I need lots of zombies. Give me some wraiths. Give me some bats. Give me a couple of monstrosities. Yep, we're good. Let's go. Where's my retinue? So that's my list.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, it's a traditional. It's good that we brought in you know, Bozz. You went sort of straightforward about the spooky. It's just a straightforward thing that we, and you know, it is spooky. The imagining of the undead.
We kind of did this in 3 different ways, right? It was actually interesting because Dan did a little bit of the silly stuff, and he, you know, a little bit of the comical stuff. I did this kind of like weird, you know, cognitive kind of horror stuff. That's just kind of suits me. And then Bozz comes in here with, let's just stick with the classics. Yep. Zombies and lots of them.
Give me zombies. Give me all the zombies.
Yeah. This is great. I'm glad we did that.
yeah, I think so. And we had a blast. Yeah, I think, and I just would say, I think Bozz, there's something very spooky about the undead, about something that, especially in war, and the Age of Fantasy, the OPR does it right, this undead. There is something scary about fighting something that doesn't cure if it dies. You know, it's, you know what I mean? There is always, you know, if you ever fought someone physically, there is always sort of that understanding that if you get into an argument or confrontation, that there is sort of that natural self-preservation that sort of keeps the two people from doing everything too crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But an undead doesn't have that. They
there's even historically, like in medieval battles, you know, there'd be whole things where people will kind of form up in lines to like get ready to charge, but nobody takes that first step, and then after a while, people just kind of like go back home, you know, because it turns out it's actually really like hard to get people to, like, you know, go in and whack somebody with a sword. Like it's really psychologically strenuous. But to have creatures that have no sense of their own kind of, you know, safety, and don't mind just like, you know, just the flood of bodies, it is an interesting thing.
I think the thing that also gets me about kind of undead and zombies and things is what they can shrug off. You can lop an arm off, you can blow half their face off, or whatever. Like, to use my analogy of playing Halo through for the first time, I remember the first time I shot one of them and they went down, and I went, cool, moving on, and the thing got back up and attacked me. Like, that was a proper moment of just, it got me. It got me, and it stuck with me, and I'm really enjoying playing it through again because I'm having those same kind of feelings and going, this is dumb. It's a game. I know this, and I know what's going to happen, but oh god, they're everywhere, and I'm out of ammo.
It is though. It's we take this one day of the year, right, to just indulge in fear and terror, and there's something that's kind of that's interesting and existential about that.
Yeah.
Consider our place in the universe, and, you know, how we're really not as important as we might think we are at times.
Tell us if you have comments. What do you, maybe post some interesting OPR lists as well? That'd be funny.
Or feel free to like comment on whose list you thought was the scariest.
Oh yeah,
it's the chicken chariots.
It's absolutely the chicken chariots.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Well, this has been a really fun episode. Thank you both very much. Happy Halloween to everyone out there, and we'll see you next time.
Happy wargaming.
Any war game, anytime. Going with a game